to show.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Off the Mats Podcast. It's me, it's Dante. I say it every week, you know it's me. There's not another host, so I don't even know why I say that. So anyhow, this week I have a new guest on, and I've mentioned it the last couple episodes or so. I'm excited. I wanted everybody else listening to get excited because I got a handful of listeners, maybe like 8, 9 listeners, like you guys. Thank you, consistency. But this week's guest, I'm welcoming Eric and Allie. I also call them Armbar Addict because that's the Instagram account that I follow, and I always promote them at the end. So welcome, Eric and Allie. How y'all doing?
Hello.
Good. How are you doing?
Doing all right. Doing all right. I always have a hard time when I say Eric and Allie. I have to now pause in between because I say, if I was like, Eric and Allie, and people are like, did you say Erica? Or Eric and it's like, and I don't know why I don't say Allie and Eric. I don't know. I'm not sexist. It's not because he's a guy. Shh, probably. Don't tell anyone. But what's going on, y'all? How y'all been?
Doing great.
Good.
It's good to be on.
I'm glad to have you. I'm glad we were able to get this put together because it was like, you know what? Like everyone that I have onto the show, I tend to have repeating guests, and that's okay. But every so often, it's good to have someone new on to get just a new feel for somebody and just hear a new story, especially when there's two at that. So it's rare that I have that kind of dynamic. So I'm glad you're able to make it on, and also that makes it a little more difficult. Also, when there's 2 people, because 2 schedules. So thank you for this. This is awesome. I'm glad to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
So I just want to kind of jump in, almost kind of interview style, I guess. It's like 2020 or 60 minutes or something, and just ask some questions and just kind of spark conversation. That's what we do here, is just converse and try to keep it chill. So I guess the first question I want to ask you all are in Colorado, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. I went out to Colorado for my sister's wedding back in '96, and I loved it. And I was like, I want to go back. I want to move here, and I'm lazy, so I was like, I'm not moving. Just gonna stay here in Maryland. It's easy. But
yeah, it's definitely a spot. Like it's nice.
It's beautiful out the world. It felt like a different world to me.
Yeah. Where'd you guys go for a wedding?
Where were we? I don't know. Pikes Peak.
Oh, okay. Cool. That is pretty.
And I remember we went to visit the Garden of the Gods.
Yep.
And just had kind of a weird time, but a good time at the same time. So you guys are out there in that nice area, and then legalize marijuana. So not that I dabble in that, but sometimes you want to make that reference because I think after that you guys won a Super Bowl. So just saying.
Yeah.
And I think, and then Seattle or Washington State did, then Seattle won. So it's just, I don't know. I just feel like there's something to it. I'm waiting on Michigan to legalize it so Detroit can at least make the playoffs. Whatever. Where do you all train out of?
So we train out of Dark Horse Combat Club. It is a sister school of Dark Horse BJJ that started in Longmont. Pretty good squad there. Longmont is about like just over 11 years old now. And Dark Horse Combat Club hasn't always been Dark Horse Combat Club. It started off as a Alchemy Combat Club. It was just like a little club that was run like with the permission of a judo school. Like they weren't training at certain times, and these guys named Joey and Jason were like, hey, like we want to start a jiu-jitsu gym club. Like, I'm sure they just called it a club at the time so that it wouldn't seem like anything too ambitious. And they would, ask if like, hey, you're not using the mats Tuesday and Thursday. can we have classes on those days? And that's how alchemy started. And that was probably like over 7 years ago or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. But we've been Dark Horse for maybe 5 years.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And how long have you two been training?
I've been training just over 5 years.
And I've been training for a little over a year.
Okay. All right. Good. Good. I'm always curious about how long anyone's been training. Like, I went to visit a gym not too long ago, and I'm signing their waiver, and they asked me, "How long you been training?" And I said 6 years. And they're like, "Oh, so you're a brown belt?" And I was like, I felt kind of, I didn't know how to feel. I was like, "Nah, man, I'm a blue belt." And they're like, and the guy just kind of gave me this look that felt like pity, like,
Oh, damn.
like,
Yeah.
oh. So it's like, and then I went in there and tormented their blue belts. So it's like, maybe I'm sandbagging. I don't know. I'm not. I'm pretty bad at jiu-jitsu. I'm just a guy. And both of your ranks, what are you guys at right now?
I'm a purple belt.
And I'm blue belt.
Yeah. Excellent.
How about you? How long have you been training and all that good stuff?
I am coming up on 7 years, at least signed up for 7 years. As far as actual training time, probably really somewhere near like 4 years consistently. So and now I'm in another one of those weird funks where I'm not training as much as I want to. And I just saw a lot of my teammates, well, not a lot of my teammates, but several teammates, just our end of the year ceremony, everybody just came back from Worlds and stuff, and all the promotions started hitting. And there's just that fire lit in me, like I need to get back on the mats and just start grinding again.
Yeah.
I need that. Purple's my favorite color, so I need to at least get that.
Yeah.
So, and I think my daughter likes seeing purple belt. Like when I showed the pictures the other day, she saw the purple belt. She was like, "Ooh, your belt doesn't look like that." So I no longer have a daughter. I put her up for adoption. This shit was hurtful. Like, 'cause she said it with like some emphasis too. Like,
damn, brutal.
like, don't look down on me. So, but yeah, that's cool. Like, I don't know for whatever, Eric, with your rank, I don't even know if I had any like ideal, even remotely where you might have been ranked. I know with Allie, I believe I thought you were a blue belt.
Yeah.
I was like, I think she's a blue belt, but like with you, I was like, I don't know. And I've seen, pictures. I've posted videos, but in my brain, for some reason, I'm not sure what. Maybe I just kind of glossed over the belt, maybe, or maybe I've been seeing a lot of no gi, possibly.
Yeah,
probably a lot of no gi.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the excuse I'll go with.
Yeah,
sure.
Just so you doing no gi.
We're all on our own paths, like there's no correct one or whatever. Like, you're on your own path. There's no reason in like trying to compare. I'm sure your life is much different than mine. Like I chose to maybe I don't know, maybe a year and a half into training, like shortly. No, actually like 2 years into training, because like the first like 8 months, I was just a spazzy white belt that wanted to show up as much as I could and had like crazy ambitions, but was just getting hurt because I was just training like a dumbass. And then, maybe 8 months in, like I started to understand a little bit more about how to calm down. But even so, it wasn't like, I think it was just luck that I happened to not get hurt, on the way to my blue belt. And then right when I got my blue belt, I got a little more involved with the gym because there was just people asking for classes at 6 a.m. and nobody was willing to like there's not a purple belt that was willing to open the doors. And that's what Jason wanted at first, was like, hey, we need a purple belt to do class at 6 a.m. And then when no purple belts stepped up for that, he was like, all right, let me just get a blue belt that is willing to open the doors. Like, it's just going to be like open mat or whatever. And so that's how I got a little more involved at the gym. But I don't know, maybe a few months after that, I got more involved. Jason was asking me to help him out with the gym. And then, he saw me do it for a couple months and then dipped. The owner literally just like was like, oh, you can handle this. All right. Left to California, and
damn,
I got left with the gym. But shortly after, like, I was like, I like this. Like, this is what I want to do for life. So I've been at the gym like 7 days a week for the better part of like 3 years, like after training for 2 years, that was like, semi-consistent, anywhere from 2 to 4 days a week. But once I started working at the gym, I was there 7 days a week. And it wasn't until maybe 6 months ago that I realized like I need to start taking some days off, take some days for myself. So now I'm training like 5 days a week, but not everyone gets that experience, where they can just get at the gym, literally like sleep on the mats at one point. Like, not everyone can do that.
Yeah, that was early on when I started. I could only go once a week based off of my work schedule. I could only make it in on Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
And once I left that job, my schedule opened up. And then I realized, like, wait a minute, there's more opportunity here as far as, just daytime classes, morning classes, evening classes. So I was there as much as I could be. There's very, very little stopping me. There are days that, my wife, she works nights. So I, pack my daughter up and like, all right, baby, we're going to the gym, and sit her over on the side of the mat, and just as much as I could. Now that she's older, it's actually a little harder to do that because she's 5. And as an infant and a toddler, she could kind of just, sleep in her car seat, sleep in her little carrier. Now that she's older, having her up late is more of an issue. So that's been my big thing now is, going for my regular like evening class, like 7 o'clock, 7 to 8. I can get home before my wife leaves, and then Wednesday mornings. But all the action happens 8 to 9:30, and I'm like, damn it, I can't be there for that. So my wife and I, we've had some talks. Like, look, I know that you make more money than me. You don't have to tell your parents or my parents, like, but I need to do jiu-jitsu, please. So like everyone's path is different in that regard, but not just that though. Everyone's motivations are a little different too.
Right.
Whether you want to compete, whether you're a hobbyist, whether you're just, doing it to keep yourself sane. I know that's part of it for me sometimes. Like, I got to get humbled so I don't yell at someone at work. But everyone has a different path and why. So that actually kind of goes to my next question for both of you is what got you into training?
Yeah, well, that's a great point about like everyone's motivation's different too. Like, before I answer your question, like drift off a little bit on that. We'll get back to that, but like I was thinking about that the other day because like we didn't talk at all about how Allie started. Like, she's been training for a little over a year, and I mean, you can tell the story yourself about how you like got more into it.
So I started jiu-jitsu because I moved from Massachusetts here to Denver, and my parents are still back in Massachusetts. My dad was all worried about me, so he was like, hey, like you should really maybe do like a self-defense class or something. So I was Googling like different self-defense things to do and started with Krav Maga, and I did not like that at all. I don't know if it's different at other gyms, but the one I went to was like a bunch of 40-year-old women punching bags to like pop music. And I was like, this is not that fun. And then in my search for Krav Maga, I saw Dark Horse on Google, and I decided to give that a shot as well. And then ever since I started, I kind of got addicted to it. I'm sure you can attest to that as well. But I used to like go on runs and stuff for like activity, just to like kind of help curb anxiety and stuff. And then doing jiu-jitsu was kind of like a more fun community-based way to do that. And then I started competing, and then I got really, really into it. And that's definitely my drive now is competition. So just very different from Eric's drive, which is coaching. So
yeah, and she moved here to like be a, like she didn't mention, she moved here to be a snowboard coach, like a competitive snowboard coach, which is like,
yeah, I had
awesome, but
I think I had my first day at Winter Park. I was supposed to be coaching their competition team for like slope style and half pipe. I started doing that orientation, I think it was like November, so maybe like a month after I started jiu-jitsu. And I did that orientation, and then I emailed him like the week later, and I was like, sorry, I can't do this because it's going to take up too much time because I just want to be training all the time. I didn't want to be up the mountain.
So with your training and competing, do you coach as well, or that's training and competing?
I've dabbled in coaching. So I teach a women's class on Wednesday nights. So once a week. We have a pretty small women's class, but we're trying to grow that. And then I've, coached a couple of the girls at competition, but nothing too serious right now. But hopefully, yeah, one day.
Okay. All right. And Eric, what got you into training?
So I guess podcast would be a perfect time. As I say, kind of a long story. Usually, that's what I'm used to saying when somebody like asks me at the gym, and like I only have so much time to talk to everyone, right? But where do I start? I guess like I'd always been listening to, like, as a young 18, 19, 20-year-old person, listening to Joe Rogan, right? And so Joe Rogan's always mentioning it, and one of his guests was Sam Harris. I'm not sure if you've heard of Sam Harris. But Sam Harris was like, at the time, I was such like such an angry place in my life with like religion and all those things that I was like, Sam Harris was my guy. And listening to Joe Rogan and Sam Harris talk about jiu-jitsu, I was like, oh, that's interesting, right? But it was just something that was like, oh, that's cool, like, and then it just kind of leaves your mind. I later work at a bar, and there's always like we're showing UFC fights, right? And so we're watching the UFC fights, and I had a couple of situations where outside of the bar, I'm kind of mixing it all up right now. I guess it's the vodka talking, but there's a couple situations where I feel like I could have stepped up. I could have like stood up for somebody, at least told somebody to like fuck off, like, hey, like what are you doing here? Like, just, and I could have stood up and defended somebody or whatever, right? And there wasn't an actual verbal altercation other than them being verbal at me and somebody that I was with. And it also just seems like such a different time in my life too, because I guess to get a little into that, like, again, I was a bartender and I was hanging out with somebody that I worked with at the bar, and he was just like, some dude that was like, I guess in my head it stands out. He's like a very gay Mexican guy and super into cocaine, right? Like, and everyone knows him for that. At least everyone called him Crazy Eyes. I'll change his name for his safety. William, Crazy Eyes William. And so we're all doing cocaine. And for whatever reason, I'm like, I need to step out of this situation. This isn't my scene. Like I did a little bit just to not seem like I was lame, I guess. And then I like stepped out of, and I guess at the time too, I was like, I need a cigarette. I don't smoke cigarettes. But for whatever reason, like that's what was going on through my head. I was just trying to not be lame. And so I'm outside, like I guess I either borrowed a cigarette for somebody or there was somebody outside smoking a cigarette, and I do not remember at all what was happening. But there's this lady, and she was like an older lady, and we were just shooting the shit. Who knows what the fuck we're talking about? And out comes this guy that looks like he came out of the, like we're in like a pretty gentrified area of Denver. And out comes this guy that looks like he's straight out of Nebraska, like in his overalls and no shirt. And he's like, don't you talk to her. She's a hard R N-word lover. And I was like, just so taken aback. I'd never seen racism like so, you know,
in your face, like outward.
Yeah, right. Like, you know, you hear about these things, but you never experience it. And I was just like, I just bitched out. I was just like, I just did nothing about it. And like the guy like kept saying the thing. And then eventually I think she told him to fuck off. And then that was it. But I remember just feeling so like later feeling so like I could have at least told that guy to fuck off.
Like you needed to learn some confidence somewhere.
Yeah, right. And like I think there was part of me that was so worried that if I spoke up, something was gonna happen and I wasn't gonna know what to do. Right. And so then cut to maybe like a couple months later that Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor are fighting. And so at this point, I'm becoming like a UFC fan just from watching the fights at the bar. And Nate Diaz like pulls off a crazy upset on Conor McGregor, right? Chokes him out. And I was like, that was insane. Let me YouTube that. And then in comes Henry Gracie with his Gracie breakdown. You guys. And I was like, oh, okay. Like the way he broke it down, like not only was he a friendly guy, he was smart. He was like, and I was like, okay, this isn't, because like I said, I'd heard Sam Harris, Joe Rogan talk about it, and I'm like, oh, these guys are smart guys. I respect these guys. But it wasn't clear to me exactly what they're talking about. It just felt so esoteric and like another world. And then when I hear somebody break down exactly how Nate Diaz went about choking McGregor and such like an intellectual, and he's got the energy, right? So I'm just like entranced by it. I was like, okay, this is something I for real need to check out, right? And so then like maybe for like 2 weeks or a week, I'm like seriously thinking about it. And one day I'm like on an Uber ride, and this guy, I couldn't recognize his accent. I'm like, is he like Middle Eastern or something? And I like, for whatever reason, he's asking me questions. You know, some Uber drivers ask questions. And he was asking me questions, and I was like, oh, I'm thinking about starting, you know, like learning how to do martial arts or something here soon. Little do I know, this guy's a Brazilian black belt, like driving me around right now. And he tells me like, no, oh, you need to do jiu-jitsu. Like, because I think I was thinking about, I mentioned Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu, and he was like, no, dude, do jiu-jitsu. Go do jiu-jitsu tomorrow. Like, look it up on your phone, look up Easton, type it in right now, and you call tomorrow, and you go tomorrow. And I was like, and that was it, right? Like I went out, tried a couple of different schools. I just liked the vibe at Alchemy better. At the time was Alchemy than Easton, because Easton's like the big school out here. And yeah, it's like just been doing it ever since.
So I get what you're saying when you said, somebody cross paths with you in the gym. They ask you, it's a long story. And it's like, yeah, tell it here, though. It's a podcast. We want long stories, but that's a roller coaster ride of, just emotions, in a lot of ways. And just, from this point to that point, because I know, myself, and I'm sure people listening have been in those situations where something's going awry and it's like, I wish there's something I could do. This is, before training. Now after training, we have the confidence at the very least to step up and say something.
Yeah.
Because, it may not turn into an altercation, because a lot of times, at least in my experience, it never escalates to a physical altercation. It's usually, at least for me, kind of talking the situation down, but knowing it's in my back pocket. If I need to, I can get this guy to the ground quick and just restrain him.
Yeah.
So I'm always kind of curious about that frame of mind with people as well, where you were before training and where you are now after training too. So that's, a great story. And thank you for sharing that with us. Even all the wild details. So when you first started training though, and got into the gym, your first day of training, what was that like for you? How did you feel going in?
So I have very like vague or foggy memory of like actually, I guess, starting out, because like it kind of mixes in. I remember my trial class, my orientation class at Easton, which is the first place that I went to, the school that the guy told me to go to. And it was like probably some purple belt that just like really briefly ran through how to like break fall and shrimp, and then just getting thrown into a class. And then I was paired up with like, I think, they peeled off and highest belt with the lowest belt. And I think my first class at Easton, I just remember like the brown belt was just like nitpicking at everything I did. I'm just like, and nothing, I could not do anything right at all. I was just like, there's no way. Like, why do I suck at this so hard? And I was like, okay, like, well, I guess that's how it is. Then they were going to open it up to roll at the end, and they didn't let me roll. They were like, oh, you have to have 2 stripes to roll. And I was like, all right. So then I went to alchemy, and I think on my orientation class with Jason, it was similar. I think I had told him that I did an orientation class, so I don't remember him like teaching me break falls and shrimps again. I think he was just like, oh, you just did that? Okay, cool. Is there any questions you have or anything like that? And I was like, can you put me through every submission real quick? And because I want to know how and when to tap. And that was like he'd never seen that before. And now that I've been doing orientations for the past 4 years, like I realize how fucking weird it would be if somebody came to me and said that. But I guess I did that, right? I literally told the guy, like, can you put me in every submission and then so I can learn how to tap?
I mean, I only learn a lot of stuff, so I know how to defend it.
Yeah.
Like, I have almost zero offense other than, back to, once I get your back, obviously, I'm in a pretty safe place. I'm not crazy about leg locks, but I'm not terrible at it. But funny enough, I'm rocking my armbar addict shirt. I am trash at arm bars. It's just, well, because the video that I just posted, I believe on Off the Mats, I posted on one of the pages, and how you were breaking down the armbar. What happens with most people is they rush the armbar, and that's from guard, not so much. From guard, I'm straight, but
Our neon belly one, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That's any armbar from any top position.
Yeah.
That's me. I rush through. I get worried about holding that position or keeping control of the arm. So, but it's not bizarre. I don't think, at least. Maybe in the way that you ask, like, hey, put me in all the submissions. It's like,
Yeah.
maybe, but I don't know. Like, it feels like something. If I heard him, like, okay, that's new.
Yeah, that's a weird request.
Yeah.
I'd probably go home and say to my wife, like, I heard the fucking weirdest thing today.
Yeah.
But no, that's, still a unique way of approaching that, though.
Yeah. Well, I think I knew that, like, I'm just the kind of person that the way I learn is just banging my head in the wall sometimes. So
I'm teaching him snowboarding right now, and that is 100% true. He likes to just send things and then figure it out afterwards.
yeah.
I like your style.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and then I guess those weren't even my first classes. Those were orientations, right? Like I have like weird, like vague memories, like specific points that I can remember within certain classes, but like probably my first 2 weeks, right? And just like different memories of all that. Like I can't remember like this was my first class. Maybe I remember like the lesson of the week, but like I just remember like the first 2 weeks and like certain moments within the first 2 weeks that I was just like, Jesus Christ, this like, this is awesome. This sucks. Like just kind of like this like whole like, crazy up and down feeling of like, this is the coolest thing ever. And also that really sucks, like this sucks kind of thing. I'm being on the bottom of like, I think we're learning how to do Keisagatami when I'm within my first week. And like, you're learning how to like pull up on somebody's arm as they're trying to shrimp as like a shrimp counter, and like having no clue what we're doing, like it didn't register to me what exactly we're doing. I look back at it now and I can see myself in the confusion. I'm like, oh, that's what you were doing. But
I had a very similar first couple days to Eric too, where like I started at another gym and it was like there was no orientation kind of thing. It was kind of like, good luck, have fun in class. It was at a 10th Planet here in Denver. And I really liked it. Like, they were very nice. I went to a women's class and had a good time. Like, definitely got addicted to it there. But I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And we were learning some submission, and they were calling it like using the headphones, and you were like kind of trapping their head while you were in mount. I don't even know what it was now looking back. But then I went to Dark Horse and did the whole orientation thing. And then I remember Eric, he actually did my orientation. And he was like, so when's your first class going to be? And I was like, tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. So I was like definitely off to like a really like excited start, very ambitious. And then I think like that class we learned Kimura from north-south and then into like a Kimura with them on their side. And then I think the next day I found out you could compete at adult. I thought it was only a thing for kids and pros. And then I was like, I want to compete. And Eric, I remember just telling me like, relax, like you have time. And I was like, nah, fuck you. I'm competing in like the next month.
Yeah.
And I ended up competing with like 3 months of training because I was like so stoked about it.
She held a grudge. I mean, she still holds a grudge. It still rings in her head.
Yeah. I won gold my first competition after 3 months of training because I was so like spiteful.
So with going out and competing and winning gold your first time out.
Yeah.
What was that like just for you mentally, emotionally, and everything?
It was cool. It was like definitely one of those things like my professor always talks about at promotion parties, talks about people coming in with like their head kind of hung low, and then like you see them like a year later and they have like, they're holding their head high and they have confidence. It's kind of one of those things because I was like, even if it's not true, like I felt like I could defend myself at that time in life, which is really reassuring as a girl who's like, relatively small. So it was nice. And whenever I lose, I notice that kind of stands true. I'm like, oh, now I can't defend myself. So I get really upset when I lose, not because I'm losing the competition, but because I feel like my jiu-jitsu is not good enough to protect myself. But yeah, it was winning was awesome. It kept me interested in it. I was like, I kind of had a feeling before I went in, like before I was like telling everybody, I was like, nah, no way I'll win. But like in my head, I was kind of like, nah, I know I'm gonna do good. And then I kept doing well.
Good.
Yeah.
And Eric, even though you're coaching, do you compete, or have you stepped into those waters?
Yeah, I try to compete here and there, and so like that's what I was gonna get into with when you mentioned the motivation earlier. Like, I think my first competition, like when I first started, I remember thinking like I'm not gonna compete, just because in my mind, like I had watched too much YouTube already, and there was people saying that, oh, competition's not real, this and that, like it's not, like, I don't know how to say, like, I don't know. I think I just watched jiu-jitsu competition in my head, and I was like, that's not real combat. Like I was real like big
That's the
MMA.
haters.
I'm a big like MMA fan, right? Like, so like I looked at like Nate Diaz, and I was like, oh, that's the guy. Like I want to be like Nate Diaz. I want to be like Conor McGregor. I want to be like those dudes. And then for whatever, like I think at one point, like I'd listened to enough podcasts and like whatever, like for example, jujitsu. I remember one of his videos where he said like one of the best things you can do for self-defense and MMA is go to jiu-jitsu competitions, because you're not going to feel that kind of intensity, in your gym. So then at that point I was convinced, like, okay, I need to compete. I need to try it out. And so like 8 months into training, I like poured myself into like preparing for a competition, and then I just got wrecked my first match. And I think ever since then, like I just realized that, okay, like this is different. Like, and I realized like, I don't know, I have this love-hate relationship with competing. And I want to compete. I want to do good for competition, but I feel like the motivation within that lies with like, it's more out of a logical thing than it is something within me. Cause like someone that does really, really well at competitions, oftentimes like they have this like unbreakable will, this idea of themselves, usually like, at least outwardly, where they say they're going to be the best. And it kind of requires that, like, I don't know, like you look at people that have reached crazy heights, like they outwardly, they will say things that just sound nuts, like Conor McGregor and whoever else, right? Like people that have this crazy belief in themselves. And I can't muster that. I can't bring that, and again, I want to compete. I want to do well, because I know that like logically, if I want to have my own school, it's good, right? I need to have some sort of competition pedigree. And if not, at least for myself, like be able to bring somebody to those heights as a coach. You know what I mean? So I like I said, there's this love-hate relationship where like, I want to do it. I could do it for myself. And like, I'm young enough, I could probably get after it, and like, no excuse to not try. But then I also look at like at the highest level, there's 16-year-olds in my bracket that are
Kolabate.
Yeah, fucking Kolabate that's gonna wreck my shit in 45 seconds, and there's nothing I can do about that. So I don't know. There's just like this drive within me that wants to get better. Like I look at people like Bill Belichick, John Danaher, like to me, those are like people that I really idolize now. And so there's a lot of motivation for me to be like one of those guys, hopefully. But I also know that I feel like to be able to coach anyone at that level too, like I want to be able to break whatever the anxiety is within my own head of like,
that way you can relate. You can be like, okay, I felt this too, this anxiety, this fear, but like you can get past it because I did.
Yeah,
It's helpful to have as a coach for sure.
exactly. Right. Like I want to be able to coach people to greatness. And I feel like if I can do that with myself too, then I can maybe do it for somebody else. But yeah, it's this love-hate thing that, you know, my motivations, I feel at the end of the day for like jiu-jitsu in general, it all falls under, I want to have my own gym. I want to run my own gym. I want it to be successful. I want to, like, in a sense, be my own boss. And why I started jiu-jitsu, apart from like the story I gave you, I was also just real lost in my life. Like I told you a story of doing fucking cocaine with people that were like, you know, I probably like generally wouldn't really hang out with, you know what I mean? But I needed something. Like I came from a background of my whole family's Jehovah's Witnesses, and I'm not, right? Like anymore, at least. So my whole family doesn't talk to me. And a huge part of why jiu-jitsu has been so huge to me is that it's like provided kind of that family aspect. And so I like what it did for me. I like how it like gave me something to focus on, something to pour myself into, give me a sense of community, people that are better like associations and people that are going to be partying, you know, just every weekend and live for that life. People that are like everyone in the room, I feel like in jiu-jitsu for the most part is trying to better themselves. Right. And so, yeah, I like how it did all that for me. And so really like that's where my motivations lie. I want to have a great school. I want to have a school that can do what jiu-jitsu's done for me. I want to keep giving back. But then there's also competition. Like, I don't know, recently there's been like this, there's been a new gym that moved into town called Logos Jiu-Jitsu. And they're like, they're the hot new thing, right? Like their coach is an Atos black belt. Like got it. And I'm not sure what he's done at Worlds. He might've won Worlds or something at one point.
He's got clout for sure.
Yeah. And not even that significant a clout. I don't even know if he's got 5,000 followers. Like,
yeah, but it's like kind of the thing where people in Denver like know his name and they're like, oh man, you train under him. That's dope. Yeah. And they definitely have like, or at least they had a girl that was a brown belt and she actually left. She moved to the East Coast. But I think that was a lot of the thing driving their competition too, because she was very successful, no gi. Yeah. She was just like badass. So there was a couple people there that were kind of pulling competition at least.
So yeah, so running my gym, Dark Horse, like it was all gravy. And then now some of the people that like took competition more seriously and like it was like they were awesome for the group to have, like a lot of them left for Logos, and that's a huge motivation too of like I don't want to like run a gym and then just lose them, like the ones that start taking it more seriously. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because, you know, not only for the sake of like to be able to say they train with me, but they were great people to have. You know, like I've lost a lot of.
Yeah, they were cool.
Lost a lot of good people with that.
Yeah, that's the, you know, kind of circling back to what you're saying with competing and the anxieties to that. You know, I've run into the same pitfalls myself. Mm-hmm. My first competition, it was, I think, 8 minutes from my house, right down the street, a little local competition.
Nice.
You know, this is now, I believe I had since left my previous job and started a new job. So I have a full open schedule. So I'm, you know, at the gym all the time. So I'm thinking now I'm ready. I want to get out there and compete. I feel like I have a grasp. I get out there. I earned silver. I don't know that the guy that I beat, he quit. He gave up. He was beating me the whole match. He gave up. I forced got my way into side control, got my 3 points. 3-2.
Uh-huh.
That was the final. Went into it was a 4-man bracket. I went into the final. Uh, this young man, I don't know, like when we tapped hands, he just stood straight up, like standing straight up. And I look at my coach, I was like, what do I do? And he goes, well, get your grips.
Yeah.
I was confused. He was just standing there, like he just looked at me like, almost kind of like, I'm not worried about anything you can do.
Oh, wow.
And in my head, I was like, you're right. And I went to get grips. Nope, wasn't happening. Eventually he went for a single leg, and I have really good balance, so he's trying everything to get me down. Probably for about a minute. I'm hopping around on one foot. It's not working. Eventually, I think he just rushed me and I fell over.
Yeah.
So he gets his 2. He gets side control. So now it's 5-0. We end up in half guard. I'd never seen half guard in my life. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I've been there, but I didn't know what to do from there. So I'm just bottom half guard, just getting smashed. But we stayed there because he wasn't getting that leg back.
Yeah.
He wasn't getting mount for sure. But after that, I think going into that match with that gentleman, that started messing with my head. And I went back to the gym, started working hard, felt confident. And I think what it was with me was every time I stepped on the mat at the competition, my breathing got weird, my chest felt heavy. I didn't like that feeling.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I'm going to compete again. I will. It's just our gym, the ownership has changed, and it's a different vibe there now. And it's competition is big at our gym. Every time there's a competition, whether it be Naga, Grappling Industries, IBJJF, shit, people are traveling, like, let's go down to Atlanta. Let's go to Cincinnati. I don't know who would ever want to go to Cincinnati, but whatever. Like, have a blast. Say you're the best in Cincinnati. That's gross. I can say that because I don't have any listeners in Ohio for a reason.
And now you never will.
Yeah, there's going to be that one. It's like, fuck that guy.
That's great.
But that's kind of a big thing now at our gym is competing. And now even for IBJJF, we have prerequisites for us to even sign up for, any of those tournaments at our gym. Mm-hmm. So in my head, it's like, I want to get out there. I want to do it. But it's like the actual force myself to do it, making it happen. Yeah. And there are other things though in jiu-jitsu that sets you apart. I mean, again, with you, Eric, as a coach, that's a huge thing. And I know for some people, they'll say, well, you can't really be a top flight coach if you haven't, taste the waters. And it's like, I'm sure that saying was all completely fucking wrong, but whatever. Like, look, we're 86 episodes in. Like, they're used to it by now. But basically, it's like, if you haven't been out there on that level, people say, well, you can't expect to be a good coach. And that's absolutely incorrect.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like, if you say to yourself, I want to push myself and challenge myself and get out there and compete, that's again, a personal journey. That's a personal choice. But if you also say, I don't want to do that, I have other things I'm going to do out here in this field, and I'm going to contribute in these ways, what you bring to the table, it matters. And, no one has anything to say about that. So I've had coaches tell me, at other periods of my training that mentally I'm just I'm not there. And that fucks with me a little bit too at times. So it's kind of like, wow, this fucking sucks. So I don't know. I think at the end of the day, whatever drives you, that's what it is. That's your drive. And, if you're going to get out there and compete and, go out there and just make it your thing, cool in the gang. If you're like, yeah, I'm gonna hang back and coach and build up the next wave of, champions, even fucking better. Because I think good coaching is not appreciated enough. So,
Yeah.
but either way, you got this. I believe in you, Eric.
I appreciate it. Yeah, well, and that's why I mentioned, like, specifically, not only Bill Belichick is like the guy in the era right now.
Mhm.
He didn't play football.
Nope.
Right, and John Danaher never signed up for competition.
Nope. And it is, as I was going through what I was saying, that's the first thing that came to mind was Belichick. He's from Annapolis out here in Maryland, about 15 minutes from here. What's up now?
I always tell Eric he should cut off his sleeves of his hoodie when he's coaching me at competitions.
Dude, do it. They'll get the message. Hey, just a quick heads up here. I'm going to edit this out anyway. I just saw the Texans were winning, and Detroit was digging the Arizona's ass 17-0. So
nice. Maybe we should do this every Sunday then.
If both of those teams win, I'm like, hey, so you guys busy next Sunday? Because like, why? Just no reason. You just hear the game on in the background and you're like,
no,
yes.
No reason to cut that out. We can be sad fans together.
I'm always a very sad fan, especially on Thanksgiving. So that's our Thanksgiving tradition is watching me cry. Are you gonna be okay? Fuck no, Grandma. Just make the macaroni.
Oh my god.
Like, leave me to my pity. So with both of you, one of the ways that I kind of again have kind of come about with your brand is Armbar Addict. So I guess for my next question really is armbar. Like what is it with the armbar for you that you gravitated towards?
It's good.
Good soup.
So for Eric, he had a instance in a competition where he got armbarred real bad. And then he was kind of like, I'm never going to let that happen to me again. So he started studying the armbar. And this was like years before I started training. But then when I started training and when I was going out for my first competition, I was like, so what do I do, coach? And he told me to just drill the closed guard armbar. And that's what I did over and over and over again. And I think I got that like 4 times or something. Maybe no, actually, because I used it in no-gi too. It's probably like 6 or 7 times in a grappling industries tournament for my first one. And I was like, oh, this works. And even after that, I was like not convinced that was my favorite. And then after my second competition, I was like, okay, armbar is my favorite. So then we decided to like, revamp Armbar Addicts because he had already started it as kind of like a fan page a couple years back, kind of reposting arm bars and stuff. And then we were like, oh, let's make it into a brand. It's just something that we use constantly and it's our favorite submission. So we already have a little bit of reach from the Instagram. It was like 2,000 followers or something at the time.
Yeah.
And so we decided to just kind of revamp it and make some merch.
Yeah. And I think even before that instance where I got armbarred real bad at a tournament, like there was, I don't know if it was my second or third competition that I was getting ready for. And I'm like running through my game plan and I'm going to shout out Tom Rampley here. He's like local black belt and he's just one of those people that you can talk to for like 10 minutes and whatever they say will be so impactful and you'll be like, just like an engineer type person that just thinks on a different level. Like, so Tom walks in and he's one of those guys that actually never trained at Dark Horse. He would pop his head in though, because there was a kickboxing gym at the front of our setup. It was a weird setup. It was a giant warehouse where there was a CrossFit gym and then jiu-jitsu in the back and then kickboxing in the front. And Tom would always pop his head back there and just say hi and look at the jiu-jitsu just because he loves jiu-jitsu so much. So he'd just be back there. And I'd be like, hey, Tom, can you like tell me what you think about this game plan? So my game plan, I'm like drilling knee on belly over and over again. And I'm like trying to like force a Darce choke from knee on belly. And what he tells me is like, okay, that's a good move, but that's not proactive. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you're expecting them or counting on your partner to make a mistake so that you can then capitalize on that. And I was like, okay. And then so he's like, fuck your game plan. Not really, right? He's like, all right, knee on belly's cool. And then he shows me the knee on belly armbar. And then I just started drilling that knee on belly armbar. He gives me awesome details. He tells me like it's proactive. Like you want to be doing something where you're actively attacking at something. And then after I started drilling it from knee on belly, I started drilling it from close guard, realizing that like people have two arms usually, and you can just start pulling at somebody's arms and start separating that, and that gets everything going. Like, so if you have a legitimate threat which says, I'm going to pull at your arms, and if you do nothing about this, I am taking this arm with me. Then the entire sea of jiu-jitsu opens up, as opposed to going about it and just trying to expect your partner to mess up. You force that. You force them to mess up. You force them to do something. So that's really, for me, like armbars are good, but like they're proactive. They you can work them from anywhere. You can, and then from there
they open everything.
They open everything else up.
Right.
That's anything, but armbars particularly, you can just.
And it's just so satisfying, you know. You're just breaking somebody's arm.
That went really dark very quickly, but okay, sure. Because I was wondering, because I've put in the story question every so often, submission preference, choke or joint lock or anything, and I was always say, even though I'm trash at arm bars, I would always say armbar. It's just I'm bad at them. But from any other position besides the close guard armbar, I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
But it's like, but I want to get better. And then people are pointing out, well, you could get a lunatic that'll let you break their arm, but if you choke them unconscious, they don't have a choice. And I was like, oh, I guess. So that's why I was just wondering, what led you there with the armbar? And yes, arm bars are good. They're not just good, they're great, actually. And that's actually going to be the title of the episode. Arm bars are good. So thank you for that, because a lot of times I have a hard time with titles, and I just throw random words up there. It's like jiu-jitsu's family, sure, we'll go with that. So no, but thank you for sharing that, and that actually helps a little bit, just as a reminder, just being proactive.
Yeah.
Whereas I think a big issue I have with my training, or not training, just me, period, is I'm good at surviving. I'm good at defending. So I put myself in dumb positions, and then it frustrates people because, they can't. I have a short, stubby neck, so it's hard to choke me at times. And I have T-Rex arms, so it's hard to get the arm bar. And I have very sensitive wrist, and I know that. So I make sure not to open myself up for wrist locks. My ankles are very sensitive, so I protect my legs a lot. So I'm always defending, and my coaches always yell at me like, why did you do that? It's like, I don't know. It just felt comfortable just to kind of give up that position and just watch them get frustrated. It's like, yeah, but if you're in competition, Those are points. You're losing. Fuck. Okay.
Yeah, I have the same issue. Like there's nothing more satisfying than like giving somebody a fit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they can't do any of the things that they want to do. Like, and so you know, I, for better or worse, I've trained like that for a very, very long time. And then like even so, like as a coach, like I get in ruts where I just get so used to like maybe I get hurt in one way or another, and I decide to like start taking it easy, and then I just let everyone take positions on me.
Yeah.
But then you have to work out of that when it's time to get a little more serious about what you want to go do at a tournament.
I have a problem with that too. I'm like never. This has been a goal of mine for the past like month or so. Is like now I want to start like focusing on not pulling guard in the gym, passing people, like getting on top. I got my last competition. I got my first rear naked choke in a competition. It was like the first time I ever took somebody's back in a competition because I'm always fighting from my back. I'm never like advancing those positions, and it's definitely difficult to make yourself, not be the submissive one in a situation because the guard is attractive. So it's like definitely a big goal of mine. I don't know if that's like a thing in our gym too, because it seems like that kind of carries out through at least the majority of the people we train with. Is like people are relatively, I guess, submissive in a sense. Like they're not necessarily trying to get to the back when we're training or like get to mount when we're training. Like we kind of just like play around and like figure out those weird positions, kind of like you're saying. But
Yeah, that's and then what you're saying as well with that too, Eric, is even though you might give up the position, now you have to work your way out of it. And there are a lot of times I don't even think that. I'm just like, I'm okay, I'm comfortable. Like, and during COVID, when everything was shut down over here, I had access to the gym. So one of my teammates, who's the Muay Thai coach, or one of the Muay Thai coaches, he and I would go up to the gym, and he was starting to really embrace jiu-jitsu at this point, but still more so no-gi. He was really looking at going into MMA. I think just after COVID, I think he said, you know what, screw it, jiu-jitsu, like all the way. But when he and I would train during the lockdown, it would just, we would record it and we go back and just play over and over, me finding joy out of frustrating him as the timer goes off and he can't get the arm bar, or he's got the triangle. There have been points where I tell people, look, if you can triangle me, I will buy you dinner. And because again, like in that position, it's like, okay, someone got the arm bars, like that doesn't count. That's an arm bar. That's not a triangle. Like, oh, I got the arm bar from the triangle. It's like, yeah, but I didn't tap because of the triangle. I tapped because you're about to break my arm. There's a difference. But I always find joy out of that, making others frustrated because they can't get what they want. And again, that's not particularly the correct thing to do. And like you said, we got to work out of those bad positions. So that's my goal upon returning to more training, is figuring out how to work out of these bad positions and really having more of a top game. Because I'm too comfortable, whether it's bottom half guard or just guard, even with someone like getting mount. I'm like, I'm not worried about you. You ain't doing nothing to me. You ain't getting his arm. You ain't choking me. Oh, look at that. Swept. Now I'm in your guard. And then I start getting fucked up. So, I got stuff to work on. I'm working on me. Just one other question for you all here. Have y'all seen Spider-Man?
No. Everybody's been asking us that.
Man, I came to this prepared.
Oh no!
I went to see Spider-Man specifically for this episode for you guys.
Oh,
we didn't do our homework.
I went to see Spider-Man. I sacrificed my Thursday for you guys.
Oh man!
Oh damn!
And you guys did not see it, and now I'm heartbroken and I'm hurt, and I don't know what to do. I guess I got to go tell my daughter about it again, and she's just gonna look at me like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like, what? Spider? Huh?
Is there jiu-jitsu in it?
So there was a major fight scene towards the end where there was not full blown, but there was some stuff there. I was like, oh, okay,
Little
That's
tripod
nice.
suite, maybe.
yeah, there was a suite. I was like, oh, okay, I see you. All right, like
Cool.
I don't know how to feel about this, but okay,
John
that
Wick
was
did wonders.
yeah. I mean, there's a few movies, especially now you're seeing a little bit more jiu-jitsu popping up in films, and I like it. Once upon a time ago, I was that guy who I didn't want people liking what I like.
Mm.
I love comic books. I grew up reading them. I got bullied for it,
Mhm.
and now everybody loves it. And I'm like, fuck all of you, especially the guys who were picking on me because it's like, fuck you. Like y'all were trying to like rip my comic books up when I was a kid, and now you want to talk to me about fucking Silver Surfer? Suck a dick.
That's me with
Like,
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I saw this great meme the other day that said, "You didn't get bullied for liking anime as a kid.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got bullied for running to lunch in the Naruto run." Like,
okay, me, you know what? You don't gotta do us like that. And but even same with MMA though. That like years ago, I used to like I'd be on Facebook anytime there's a pay per view. I order it. I'll watch it alone most of the time. I'll put the results up and comments. I get a person or two that would comment and we have a discussion, but most people just looked at me like, dude, all that shit's dumb. Like it's that's not real fighting. Like you need to watch boxing. I was like, okay, CTE, you mean? Like okay, dummies. But now that jiu-jitsu is kind of picking up, at one point I would start feeling I was like, fuck, I don't want people like jumping into this now and then just commercializing it and making it a thing about money. But I also do like seeing people, gain confidence from it. I
Mhm.
like seeing people. I was at my friend's birthday party dinner last night, and their daughter, she's gonna do a trial and possibly sign up. And she and I were talking about it, and like I've known her since birth. So growing up, she'd always come up to me and try to like slap box and just grab my arm and grapple. So we're standing in the kitchen last night. I'm like got a collar tie on her. Like 2-on-1, like pulling her to the side, like foot sweeps, all these crazy things. So then she turns around to her younger sister, and they're next to the stairs, and they're doing it's like, okay, hey, stop. Like your parents looking right now. Do this when like I leave, and like they don't know I taught you this. But I'm happy to see that they're into it. Well, the oldest daughter, she's gonna go into it. She's not been like picked on in school, but it's one of those things where she sees a lot of stuff going on in school, and she's like, look, I just want to be able to defend myself. And I was like, honestly, a big thing to that is going to give you the confidence to know that you don't have to get physical with anyone. You
Yeah.
can just speak up, and if they choose to do it, you're prepared.
Yeah.
But just knowing it's like when we're watching any MMA fight, and there's a striker who has now gotten really good at jiu-jitsu, so they're going to throw kicks openly with no fear of being taken down. Where you'd have some fighters, they're going to be a little more tentative with their kicks because they don't want to go to the ground. So I feel like that with jiu-jitsu, if you feel confident in your words and your feelings, you're not worried about what could come next if it gets to that point, because you know that worst case scenario, you can at least restrain people or keep yourself keep them at a distance to keep yourself protected. So I do like seeing more people embracing jiu-jitsu for at least that regard, but you still see some knuckleheads at the bar. Like I train UFC. It's like, oh,
I
okay,
train UFC.
all right, Bucko. Sure you do. But we'll go ahead and wrap up here.
Alrighty.
I do appreciate you guys coming on and doing this with me, and I would love to have you on again because this, like I said, I always get nervous with doing this, but this might have been one of the most fluid and just comfortable episodes I've been on in a while, and that's even with having people that I've had on as guests regularly.
Cool.
So thank you for that. Like you, Eric, especially, you just have a way with
He's got away with words.
Yeah. like that you made me feel comfortable, made me feel like, damn, dude, maybe I am okay to do this podcast shit. Jeez Louise.
You're killing
Yeah.
You convinced me. Then afterward, I'll do my next episode. Like, fuck, I suck again.
it.
So where can we find you all on social media?
It's Armbar Addict everywhere.
Yep. Armbar Addict on Instagram, Armbar Addict on TikTok,
Facebook,
on Facebook,
Twitter. We don't really do the Twitter right now, but we're gonna.
Yeah.
Armbaraddict.com for the merch.
Yep.
All right. And any other shout outs or just the Armbar Addict?
I mean, we're brought to you by armbaraddict.com. So
Sponsored
the whole thing. Check us out. We'd really appreciate it.
But yeah, thank you for everything. This has been great.
No problem. Thank you. And I don't know if you listen to the episodes or how far in you get. I shout you guys out every episode.
Yeah, we hear.
Because it's like, dude, it's like first off, t-shirts, rash guard, love it. Second off, like the videos that you put up, even though I put everything in the queue, so it's like trying to work my way through everything else to get you posted.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, and also I just believe in good people out there doing good things. And it's like, look, if I can tell people to check you out and they turn an eye to it, it's like good. Yeah. So just good people looking out for each other. So sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you too.
And for all the listeners out there, as always, thank you to you as well. Greatly appreciate you. As always, big shout out to Eric and Ali over at Armbar Addict. It's a little different now because I have them here as I'm shouting them out. Awkward. But yeah, definitely go check them out. The couple kids out of Colorado, just doing jiu-jitsu and living a jiu-jitsu life. Also, big shout out to Nerd Rage Radio. I was just hanging out with the Nerd Rage crew last night. We recorded an episode and we got blankets, big warm blankets as kind of a team gift for everybody. So I really appreciate the gift, and I'm only shouting them out because of the blanket. But also, they got me into podcasting back in the day. Bobby, Chris, Joe, go check them out. Great guys. And also check out Columpton Social Club. That is my other podcast with my childhood friend Stevie. We review beers now. Just that's how it happened. We started a podcast to talk shit, and we ended up drinking and say, you know what, this beer is trash. This one's pretty good. And we just started giving them scores. And now a bunch of breweries follow us. So we just need to get them to sponsor the show.
There we go. Let's do it.
It's all about growth. You got to find out where you belong.
Yes.
And last but not least, or maybe a little least, be sure to check out in a couple weeks my newest podcast, So You Like Horror. It's a horror podcast. It's a monthly show, first Friday of every month. First episode is just going to be the hosts that are going to be on there, myself. We're going to do like a little horror talk, and then from that point on, it'll be different themes featuring zombies, the Scream franchise, the Alien franchise, shit like that, vampires, werewolves, creature features. So be sure to check that out. It's available on platforms. There are a couple sample episodes up right now on Spotify and Apple. You can find the Instagram page too. It's so_you_like_horror. And yeah, that's really it. So thank you, everybody. Love you all. And you got any questions, reach out to me, Off the Mats Podcast on Instagram, bjj.wiki on Instagram. I'm a friendly guy. So just reach out, say hi. I'll say hi back. But otherwise, you guys keep listening, and I will keep making these shows. Thank you so much, everyone. Love you. Ciao.
They were with it. Now let me sing a song.